Hallo zusammen. Today we're gonna learn some German with Resident Evil Village, aka Resident Evil 8. There's gonna be some spoilers in this one, so be careful. Also about, well, maybe RE7 here and there, because both games are connected. And we're gonna take a look at some of the cutscenes, what characters say in them, and why Capcom chose certain phrases, words, what they actually add to the meaning of the whole story, to the plot itself. Let's check that out. Before we're gonna start, this is gonna be a 2-video series, mini-series. This is the first one, so if you're interested in this, if you enjoy this, feel free to check out the second one as well. So let's first start chronologically with the beginning of the game and what's happening there.
Ich möchte wirklich nicht mehr darüber reden.
Ethan really doesn't want to talk about that anymore, any longer. For him, it's pretty much a finished thing. Like, he put it in a closet and closed it up and that's it. In this case, the adverb wirklich really emphasizes and underlines that I really don't want to deal with that anymore. Like, okay, it's said and done. So what's really cool about this first section of the game is how it's introduced and the plot, pretty much. You don't really know what's going on here, why is there like a fairy tale going on? But, well, over the course of the game and pretty much at the end, you actually get how everything's connected, and I love that. So this is das Märchen, singular, die Märchen, plural, the fairy tale. Also, what's typical for German Märchen, fairy tales in German at least, is that they are written in Preteritum. And you can see that here and pretty much in all other sentences in that scene right there. And in this case, you can see that when you take a look at the verb beraubte, which is either the first person or the third person singular form in Preteritum of berauben. The wording, sort of, with some outdated German terms and phrasings, that all of that is pretty much typical when it comes to fairy tales.
Mir, oh Gott! Chris? Was zum Teufel?
Tut mir leid, Ethan.
Nein! Was?
Yeah, well.
Warum?
That's my question as well. Why? And it would have been way easier for Ethan throughout the game and all what's taking place in the village if, you know, Chris would have just told them what's going on, that isn't Mia, not the real one at least. And, you know, but similar to what you might know in English, he actually said, oh God. And in English, it's oh God or oh my God. And in German, we also have the exact equivalent of that, which would be oh mein Gott, der Gott, singular, die Götter, plural. Or if it's a female god, you know, the villagers might refer to Mother Miranda as a female god, a goddess. It would be Göttin, singular, die Göttinnen, plural.
Rose, was macht ihr mit meiner Tochter?
Objekt gesichert, Sir.
Bringt ihn weg.
Nimm die Finger weg von ihr!
Ethan, lass los.
Chris uses a lot of imperative forms, der Imperativ. Of course he does that because he's the team leader of those soldiers or, you know, mercenaries. I don't know what they are exactly. Ethan, lass los. Could also have said, Ethan, würdest du mich bitte loslassen? But that wouldn't be, you know, that wouldn't fit his role.
Ich sagte geh. Tja, wenn Elena dir vertraut, dann tu ich es auch.
That is good, because we can need all the trust in the world, especially in this village, which by the way is das Dorf, singular, die Dörfer, plural. So in German, this game would be titled Bewohner, böse, Dorf, I guess. What you can see here at the beginning of this phrase is a German interjection. And this one is pretty much similar to saying, well, if Elena trusts you, I do too. Tja, wenn Elena dir vertraut, dann tue ich es auch. And this tja is pretty much, well, usually I'm suspicious because you're a stranger. I don't know you. But if, you know, that other person that I trust trusts you, I'm also gonna be trusting you. And the German, tja, well, that is pretty much the perfect choice there.
Wir finden ein Versteck für dich, bis ich meine Tochter finde. Ich glaube, sie könnte in dem Schloss sein.
Nein, dort gibt es nichts außer Blut und Tod. Und ich wäre ganz allein bis...
Again, you might have seen that twice now. If you know a little bit about German, you saw the term könnte. Sie könnte da drüben in diesem Schloss sein. Rose could be there in that castle over there in the distance. She could be there. Könnte, could, is a form of the so-called Konjunktiv 2. Subjunctive 2, pretty much. Because he doesn't know for sure, he uses the Konjunktiv in this case. Und ich wäre ganz allein. I would be all alone. Would. Once again, a good opportunity to use the Konjunktiv.
Und ich wäre ganz allein, bist du... Vater?
Elena nicht.
Vater is the general term for the father in German. Der Vater, Singular. Die Väter, Plural.
Das ist einfach nicht fair.
Maybe a little bit buried because of the fire burning in the background and the sound of that, but you might have heard that he did something that is also really typical when it comes to spoken daily German. And what he did there is he dropped the last consonant T. Das ist einfach nicht fair. He could have said, das ist einfach nicht fair, right? With the T's at the end of ist and nicht, is and not. But instead, he opted for saying, das ist einfach nicht fair. Which, again, authenticity is way more natural and way more normal and real. Because pretty much all Germans would say it this way, and they wouldn't say, das ist einfach nicht fair, right? They wouldn't pronounce that T at the end of words. And it's not just those two words, it's many other German terms that end in T, and some other suffixes and last consonants in words. Sometimes they just get dropped in spoken German.
Halt deine Klappe und komm drüber weg, verdammt!
Heisenberg was a real German physician, so his name sort of fits because he can control metal by using the magnetic field. He's really rude to her in terms of his choice of words. He says, halt deine Klappe, which is German for shut up. Also, the last term there, verdammt. That is, damn, shut up. Like, really underlining that urge again. He's actually using the informal form of address and the modern way to refer to people, how they interact with each other and how they talk. Those are little details, but they actually they help creating an inner picture or like a frame of all the characters distinctively. You really notice that she, Lady Dimitrescu, she's really up there. She's like, nose up high there, arrogant maybe even, and acting like a royal almost, like an aristocrat. Whereas Heisenberg, well, he is sort of like the working class kind of guy, really well underlined linguistically here.
Such dir woanders was zu essen.
Halt den Mund, Kind!
Even her reply, halt den Mund, Kind, using the Kind, right? Shut up, child. She's talking from up there, literally and physically. It's still a more polite way to reply to this kind of stuff. You would use the name instead of the generalizing neutral term Kind. She doesn't even say his name there. And that tells a lot.
Mögen die Spiele beginnen!
Such a cool character.
Bin gespannt, was du hörst. Ethan Winters.
You might assume that he doesn't know us, so he might use the formal form of address with Sie. He is talking down to him now. Like he is superior to Ethan. If that isn't the case, and it's a normal situation, by the way, and two Germans meet each other and get to know each other, it's the older person that offers the informal form of address. That's the way we roll in Germany. But in this case, it's a completely different situation, of course. So gorgeous. Der Schlüssel, Singular. Die Schlüssel, Plural, the key.
Oh shit.
Da bist du.
That was so subtle, but I loved it. Like he didn't even have the power to be more aggressive in his tone. She just entered. He didn't see that coming at all, apparently. And she also said, du, to Ethan. I keep coming back to that because you can see a change in Ethan as well, but more about that later.
All das für ein Kind, das nicht einmal hier ist.
Was wollen Sie von...
Oh. And with later, I mean right now. He's using the formal form of address in singular with the capitalized S in Z. Very important, has to be capitalized. He is like afraid and he feels inferior. If this was a neutral and normal situation, which clearly it isn't, he would also use Z. But she would also use Z because they simply don't know each other. He's just sticking to the Z for now.
Ein neuer Look. Viel besser als der alte.
You might have noticed something, and that's why I keep referring to this and explaining this over and over again throughout this video. Now he switched to informal, du. And there can be multiple reasons for this in this specific situation. He doesn't have as much respect for her anymore. Also using another Anglicism, by the way, der Look, which would be a masculine noun in German. And he's referring to her as die alte Psychohexe, the psycho witch. He's way more casual in his choice of words here than he was before. There was a change, like he got sort of used to her, they got used to each other. She always said du, using the informal form, and now he's also switched over to the informal form. So they are pretty much on the same level. He lost respect and he gained confidence at the same time, which also led to him using du and informal forms of address, right? So psychology and what's happening, maybe also sometimes subconsciously, that also plays a huge role in choosing words, also intuitively.
Nun sagen Sie mir, wie ich das in Ordnung bringe.
Ganz ruhig.
Using Z again, that is also because he knows more than Ethan. And that is sort of being portrayed in that difference once again. Not in a bad way, because he wants to help Ethan. By the way, it's also the Duke in German. Ah, he's explaining.
Mutter Miranda ist die kalte, egoistische Herrscherin dieses
Also
Dorfes.
really going out there and saying bad things about Mother Miranda.
Der dritte ist Moreau, ein sonderbarer Zeitgenosse.
Sonderbar. He even intonated that and stressed that in a really specific way. Sonderbar. He's not only describing the characters, but he also gives away how he feels about them, right? And that helps Ethan to feel like a closer connection to the Duke, because he knows, okay, he is on my side of things, or at least he is not against me, he's not my enemy. Do it, just go for it, Ethan. Just grab it. Nehmen to grab.
Ich habe so lange auf dich gewartet. Ich wäre eine viel bessere Tochter als Rose. Bitte, darf ich bei dir bleiben? Für immer?
Yeah, this baby. And the sound design of this game is awesome too. It's supposed to be das Baby, singular, die Babys, plural, the baby. Again, a loan word we used, and we still use as the standard term. There's also the German term der Säugling, singular, die Säuglinge, plural. That might be used in hospitals, like on paper and stuff, but Germans would simply say das Baby.
Sie ist nicht Ihr Kind.
Mehr hast du nicht zu sagen?
Was meinst du mit Ihr geliebtes Kind?
Ethan is so used to the characters in the village by now, even someone like Moreau, that he's constantly using du now.
Mehr hast du nicht zu sagen?
Was
Also
meinst
watching
du mit
this again.
Ihr geliebtes Kind?
Mutter will ihr Kind zurück.
Verarsch mich nicht!
Verarsch mich nicht. Don't play with me. Don't mess with me. he is really bossy in that situation right there. Like Ethan, wow. He has really gained a lot of self-confidence over the course of like the 2 victories that he's experienced by this point. And you really notice that in the way he talks to other people, like in the village, whether it's citizens or even bigger bosses, with the term verarschen, the verb that is, which basically means to kid someone. And what's interesting, as a reply, you can read that below there, warte, bitte, which is a reply by Moreau. He is sort of intimidated by that, because he sort of didn't expect Ethan to reply that way. And you can notice that. Also because of the choice of words there.
Sieh mal, du verstehst das falsch. Verdammt, ich rede. Letzte Warnung, Penner!
Penner, wow.
Bitte verzeih.
First of all, using der Penner, singular, die Penner, plural. A pretty harsh word. But again, he's talking to a creature down there, so, you know, and he's aggroed. But then again, the next second he flips and is really calm and says, you know, bitte verzeih. Please excuse. Being overly polite to Ethan in order to get him on his side of things. Which is interesting because in a way they both have the same motive. Like they want to defeat Mother Miranda, but Heisenberg, of course, wants to use Rose and he doesn't care about the child itself. It's different for Ethan as the father. Obviously.
Denk nicht mal dran! Ich interessiere mich einen Scheiß für dich.
That was a strong line. Once again, way more direct, way more out there, way more slang, vulgar, but really filled with self-confidence. I love how he changes throughout the plot and even throughout Resident Evil 7 as well, but especially here, how he just gets used to the situation, and I love that. And what I would also love is you guys tuning into part number 2. As I've said before, this is a 2-part series, so hope you enjoyed the first one. I certainly enjoyed making this. I love this game, as I've said before. Hope you also learned some linguistic details here and there, and how the clever use of German words, phrasings, sentences, expressions really benefits the game overall, and the atmosphere, how people interact with each other. So yeah, thanks for watching everyone. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.